Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey guys, welcome. Today is May the 5th, 2020, and this is episode 13 of Pop Culture Warrior, the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I, of course, as always, am CQ, the pop culture heavyweight champion of the world, and with me as always is my tag team partner, the Macho Man to my Hulkamania, the voice of the unpop cultured, the future Hall of Famer, Mr. Radar. Welcome, buddy. How you doing?
What's up, man?
Oh, man. Are you excited? It's Tuesday. Are you ready for this?
It's Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
Hell
man.
yeah.
I'm so pumped, bro.
In my best Spanish.
You're killing it, man. You're killing it. You're on fire.
Trying.
Oh, man.
And if you got drunk last night, it's Revenge of the Fifth.
That's that. Well done, sir. Well done. Oh man, we got so much to talk about today. I mean, there's just so much going on. I'm super excited to catch up with it all. Whew. I got new show graphics and everything, man. This is outstanding. I'm loving it. We got the social media stuff as always too. So let's see if we can't cue that up. There we go. How's that looking? Is that looking good? I don't know. I can't even tell anymore.
Fantastic,
right? I messed around with some of the colors. We're looking good. I think we're doing okay. We're doing all right. Let's see if that. Hey, there it is. Boop, 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 boop. There it pops up. That's so adorable. Isn't that cool?
You know what I heard you got?
No, new
I
lights.
heard you got a bleep button.
What are you talking about? I ain't got no. What bleep button? I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You better make sure it's not on me because it's all people are gonna hear.
It's such a stupid thing, but I think it's hilarious, man.
It's fucking hilarious. I love it.
Why not have some fun with it, right? You know, you live once, man. You absolutely live once. Have some fun with it. So yeah, we got the bleep button and a couple of other fun little things that we'll play with as we get going.
I told the wife the same thing.
Oh man, shout out to everybody watching live, man. Thank you guys for checking us out. I already see we got Mike Larson in the comments. We got Radar, you're hanging in the comments. We got Combo Bus. We got Doc, Chris. What's up, man? Oh man, he's asking, are we behooving ourselves and are we fighting the Ronas and the murder hornets? Yes, I think all of the above.
A bunch of murder hornet bullshit. Jesus Christ! What's fucking next? Well, they already said aliens are real.
Yeah.
The fucking Pentagon was like, yeah, there's aliens. Dog.
Did you notice they snuck that in? They snuck that in.
They backdoored that shit. Like, fuck a bunch of aliens. We got this shit, son.
Like, all right, let's see. Kobe died. The fires in Australia. The fucking the plague. The now the murder hornets. They're like, this is the perfect time. No one will notice. Slide in the evidence of UFOs. Oh man, hey Jeff, man, I see you in the comments, bud, man. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking us out, bro. Yeah, we're doing good. We're killing it, man. So before we get started, same as always, you know, check out our social medias, check out what we got going on, check out all the other shows on WTF Nation Radio. I'm still waiting. So right up here, this big empty spot in the background, there's a hidden trigger, right? When you guys go to the merch store, when you get a second, it's in the description. When someone orders something while we're live on air, something here is going to pop up and it's going to do a thing. The first person that orders something, I don't care what it is, I'm going to send them an exclusive gift as well. So that's just a nice little thing because I really just want to see the thing pop up. So
is it an inflatable dildo? Because that'd be fucking hilarious.
I will neither confirm nor deny what it could possibly be. So
I'm gonna go order some shit right now just to see this dildo pop up.
Hey, I'm not gonna say what it is, but it'll pop up, and the first person that makes it pop up, I will get them some exclusive show swag for sure.
Same thing I told the wife earlier. You make it pop up, you get some swag.
You're gonna get a gift if you can get it to pop up. I'm gonna unload some gifts on you. Jeff says, "Is the pop up NSFW? Is it not safe for work?" I will neither confirm nor deny what it is, because that takes all the fun out of it. But so there's that. Also, I'm gonna try something new. So obviously, the people that are watching this live, sit back, relax. We got some fun stuff to talk about and a cool guest coming up. For the people that are catching this as a video or as a podcast, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to capture the timestamps of like the different topics we cover. So like we talk movies, we talk TV, we talk comics, we talk video games, whatever. Try to capture those timestamps, and then obviously for when our guest comes on. That way later on, if you're watching this in the future, you'll be able to be like, well, I just want to see what's going on in video game news, and you'll be able to hit the link or just find the time and then jump straight to that part of the video. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see if that helps people out and they want to get specific information stuff. So we'll see if it works. I don't know. I see. Hey, Rachel, what's up, man? Look at you. Link to Mike. Link to the store is if you go to the description of the video, it'll be like the bottom link. You'll see merch store. So yeah, you can check out what's in the store for some pop culture warrior swag. So anyway, Radar,
Yes.
Are you ready to get geeky with me?
I'm gonna try it, buddy. I'll fucking door gun for you, buddy. I'm on you.
My TC as always. I appreciate you, bro.
Right.
Okay, cool, man. So first up, let's see if I can. I've been screwing around with all my buttons. I'm gonna see if I can get this to work. Ready? And boop. Hey, it worked. Oh, didn't want the social media to pop up, but all right. I'll go.
That's whatever. It all pops up.
We'll get the social media going too. No problem. Yeah, so that's that. Anyway, movies. Right. Oh, look at mom putting in the merch store. Love you. Thank you. All right. So I don't know if you heard about this. Regal Cinemas, or I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. So Universal Pictures releases Trolls 2 on video on demand, right? You're aware of that, right? It was a big thing. Yeah,
I heard about it.
You heard about it. And so they released this movie. It actually was a success. If you kind of categorize what success means today, it was a success because they made for $100 and something million on a video on demand release. So I think it was the president or the chairman or somebody was talking about it. He's like, yeah, it was a great success. And he let slip a comment like, maybe this is something, we'll look at in the future of possibly, releasing simultaneously both to theaters and home release. And I think in his head, he's thinking, give people the option if they want to go to the theater or if they want to do it. Really, in a business decision, it makes sense for them because when they put movies in a theater, they're really splitting kind of the commission with the theaters. They're I don't know. I feel like they're not getting as much money. The money that comes through video on demand really goes directly to the studios. So from a business decision, it makes sense. They want to maximize the money that they're making. And hey, I see Jose join, man. Hey, thanks for joining, Jose. And so, what happened was when this comment got out there, it was not Regal, it was AMC. AMC Theaters comes out and they're like, straight up, they didn't hesitate. They're like, we are now putting a ban on all future Universal releases. Don't care. They're like that. It was a shady business practice to put it out there and to even insinuate that you're going to do this moving forward. Cutting us out of the loop of the movie loop. Like, we're partners and we're a critical part of, like we're the infrastructure for your movies. So they were pissed. And so this was last week, a few days ago, Regal announced they're joining the bandwagon and they're saying Regal theaters will now put a boycott on all Universal Pictures. And probably one of the biggest ones going around right now, Universal, is Fast and the Furious. So all those Fast and Furious movies would potentially be banned from theaters. So, look at, there's Mike Larson, you son of a bitch. There you go. Mike Larson's going to get an exclusive gift. He bought it. That was cool. Who saw that? I want to replay that. That was awesome. That was very cool. I am excited. We had a thing pop up. That was awesome. I see, I get so distracted. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Do it again.
I'm like a kid with the toy. Do it again. That was awesome. It worked. I did a thing and it worked. That's exciting. Anyway, so Regal Cinemas is joining AMC in refusing to play any Universal films. Basically, the Cineworld's policy with respect to the window is clear. So you have to understand there's like a kind of a guideline that there's a guideline to how movies will be a certain window, they'll be released in theaters, then there's a certain break, then there's a certain window release for video on demand, then there's a break, then there's the release of home video. Like there's a policy kind of with that. So the parent company of these movie theaters called Cineworld Group, they issued a statement saying Cineworld's policy with respect to the window is clear, well known in the industry, and is part of our commercial deal with our movie suppliers. We invest heavily in our cinemas across the globe, and that allows the movie studios to provide customers all around the world to watch the movies in the best possible experience. There is no argument that the big screen is the best way to watch a movie. They added that Universal unilaterally chose to break the understanding and did so at the height of the COVID-19 crisis when our businesses is closed, more than 35,000 employees are at home, and when we do not yet have a clear date for the reopening of our cinemas. So Universal's move is completely inappropriate and certainly has nothing to do with good faith business practice, partnership, and transparency. So them some heavy words, them some fighting words. It is crazy that this is a thing that we might have. Hey, look, man, what's up, Nathan? What's up? Hey, Jenny, look at it. Everybody's popping. Appreciate you guys. Jose, Miguel, what's up? Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, what's up? Celebrate. Hope you guys got a beer. I should have had a beer with me. That's what I should have did. Damn it, I was messed up. So yeah, so I don't know, man.
Always have a beer.
Always have a beer.
You should always have a beer. I thought you're a paratrooper. You should know that.
Airborne. So yeah, what do you think, man? Like, are you devastated at the possibility of not being able to go see Fast and the Furious in theaters?
I mean, no. Who the fuck goes to watch Fast and Furious shit now? It's just like 100 years old.
I know some guys.
Probably you. But what I'm saying is, like, is that like the end of the fucking world? Like, really?
Of course not. Of course not.
You know what I mean? The end. But I'll play devil's advocate here, though. Like, they're trying to keep everyone right now is trying to keep their head above water.
Right.
They're trying to make a little bit of money to pay their people and do their shit, and that's from Universal Pictures all the way down to, the farmhouse restaurant in Spearfish or some shit. You know what I mean? Everyone's just trying to keep above water and do their shit. And so you can't really blame them. And to say, well, they're taking advantage of the situation. No, they're trying to make some money to pay their bills. So, and I know, like we talked last week about AMC theaters being kind of fucky right now. Like they're kind of stuck in high tier. They're trying to keep up, but they're missing their mortgage payments. They're missing their rent payments, and they don't know if they're going to make it through this. And I get that. I understand that. It's tough for everybody. But then to say, well, we might make a little bit of money off the Fast and Furious movies, but y'all, we can't do it because reasons. And that to me, it's just, it's that's the child saying, I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah, there's definitely a layer of like, well, fuck you guys. Hold on, wait. Was that like?
Well, didn't you say like one of our right? Yes, it's perfect. But didn't you say like the majority of how much percentage wise? You said it the first show or second show comes from like China and India and like all these other. It's not even like AMC theaters is like basically, oh, you didn't get a bag of Doritos today. I didn't buy them, so Doritos is going under kind of deal. No, they're not. Yeah. So, how much is it more of a? Is it more of a F you right to their face, or is it more of a they're not going to bankrupt them? They're not going to bankrupt Universal.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and Universal already proved that they can make $100 and something million by releasing straight to people's houses. So,
I'm telling you, I really think after all this is said and done, dude, I really think there's going to be a lot more that's going straight to stream, straight to. I mean, and it probably won't be their blockbusters. It probably won't be the new Avengers movie or the new Star Trek movie or whatever. But they're making money hand over fist with some of those though too, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, like look at the Mandalorian, for example. Like they're not losing out by doing it that way. Could could they make more money going the traditional route? Probably, and they probably will. But some of these kind of, I'm not gonna say B movies, but like not the blockbusters. I think they might just go. Some of these you're gonna start seeing going right to streaming services because they can make their money now. They can and they can make a considerable amount of money now, and it's gonna be hard to switch that. I think. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, man. What else we got? We got so much to plow through, man. I don't. Not to. It was a great great talk, and I want to keep dissecting this, but we have so much more to talk about. So, being that it's Cinco de Mayo, being that yesterday was May the 4th, everybody knows May the 4th be with you. So I got a bunch of Star Wars news, and you kind of touched on it. That's why I want to cue it up. So first of all, there will be more Star Wars movies. I think everybody figured that out. We don't have. I think the Skywalker saga is over, right? The Darth Vader, the Luke Skywalker, all that, it's over. But there will be more Star Wars movies, whether they're prequels or future quills or side quills or upside down quills. I don't know. But we have our first taste of something that's coming, and that is in the form of the announcement that, Taika Waititi will be a future director of a Star Wars movie. So for those that don't know, he's the guy that did, he was the director behind Thor, the third Thor, Ragnarok. He has done, he's done a bunch of stuff. But basically, this past Monday, Disney announced that Waititi has officially signed on to direct a live-action Star Wars movie, which is set for release in theaters, not a Disney Plus streaming thing, but in theaters. He will be directing and co-writing a brand new Star Wars movie. He'll be joined by Krysty Wilson Carnes, and now that Krysty is not as well known, but is a fantastic screenwriter, was nominated for an Oscar on the work that she did with, she co-wrote the movie 1917, which was phenomenal, great movie. She also co-wrote Edgar Wright's next movie, which is, it's called Last Night in Soho, so that's a good one, or it's coming out. So even though this will be his first Star Wars feature film, Waititi has been involved in Star Wars universe. You got to remember, he directed an episode. It was actually the finale. He directed the finale of The Mandalorian. So that was a great finale. He did a phenomenal job with it. He was also the voice of what was the droid? IG-11, I think it was, is the droid that protects Baby Yoda. So he did the voice for that. He also did the voice for in Korg, the big rock guy in Thor. So he's definitely got a lot of experience in front of and behind the camera. So very cool news that Taika Waititi, I want to pronounce that right, will be directing a Star Wars movie. So I think that's gonna be fantastic. I think his brand of action and comedy and just his general the way he works, I think it's really good, and I think it's a good step for the Star Wars universe. Do you have a say? I'm listening.
I do when I don't have my fucking shit muted. God damn it.
You're good,
Sorry
man. You're good. You're good.
No, I'm not that good. I'm not that good. Not tonight. It's been nothing but technical issues for me tonight. So, but no. I don't know. How am I going to say this without? I think you could have a pile of shit direct a new Star Wars movie and people are going to watch it.
Well, yeah.
You could have my dumb ass direct it and be like, fucking like, why is this dude on fire? And be like, because I want him on fire. And people will watch it and it will be part of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just being facetious on that, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you honestly, like, what do you think, though? Do you think like the Star Wars franchise in any way in jeopardy, even if they have a mediocre performance from a director?
Well, that goes to say, you're right. I think that there's such a rabid fan base for it that even the biggest flops in Star Wars history, Phantom Menace was kind of panned in theaters. Some of the new ones were iffy. The Solo movie, the Han Solo movie that came out, that was and they had, what was it? Ron Howard directed that one. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so even with those, let's call them flops, they're not critically loved or loved by the fans. I mean, they are movies that always draw an audience. So yes, I agree with you that much like the Fast and Furious movies, they're not going anywhere. But I do think that this is an opportunity for you give a visionary director, a guy who has a clear vision and a style, you give him the opportunity to do something. And especially since he's co-writing it, let him put his stamp on it. Let him put his brand on it. And I think there's the opportunity to really, let's call it, revitalize, revolutionize, take that universe to the next level. I mean, I don't know what. I'd like to see him do something that's completely kind of, I mean, within canon, because it's all universe, all canon, but something that has nothing to do with anything. So obviously the main trilogies, but also the side stuff, right? Nothing to do with Rogue One, nothing to do with The Mandalorian, nothing to do with even going into like the past where you have like Knights of the Old Republic, which everybody loves. I want him to do something completely on the other side of the universe. Obviously something Jedi, something Sith, because I mean it's Star Wars. But I could easily watch him do something that has nothing to do with Jedi's or Sith or anything like that. I could. The guy's a
But
great writer and a great director.
but I'm going to throw this out there too, playing devil's advocate again.
Mhm.
You could have the best produced, best quality film that tells an amazing story when it comes to Star Wars, and you're going to have that group who's like, well, that doesn't, you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
you've got the super hardcore, and this is where Star Wars is funny to me to watch because I enjoy Star Wars. I enjoy all of them. I watched Mandalorian, loved it.
Sure.
I watch that stuff and I enjoy it, but I'm not like into it.
Yeah, you're
You
not
know
a
what I mean? Like,
diehard.
no, I'm not diehard,
Right.
and I enjoy it. I enjoy watching it, and
Yeah.
as kind of an outsider, as the uncultured, as you love to call me. But I mean,
Unpop cultured.
well, either one, both fit. But you have these people who are so hardcore that you're not going to make them happy unless it was George Lucas that did it, and they're like giving him a handy while he's doing it, kind of thing.
Well,
So
let's remember George Lucas did the first of the original trilogy, the one that was kind of panned. He's
Right.
he's messed it up too. This is okay. So this is, in my opinion, this is what boils down as the problem of the fan base of something like Star Wars. The fan base spreads like 50 years. So
Right.
it's not a collective. You look at something like, let's say, the original Ghostbusters. Two
Okay.
movies in pretty close succession, and that was it for
Yeah.
many, many years. So all the fans are kind of centered around that era. They grow, the fan base grows, it grows older with the movies. What happened is when you have a trilogy of trilogies that spans from like the 70s all the way to 2020, fans are jumping on and off at different parts. And so what resonates with them isn't necessarily what resonated with, you know what I mean? Like, say if I took my kid or my nephews or somebody to see the most recent trilogy, what resonates with them has nothing to do with the people that saw the original trilogy in the 70s and 80s. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can't please a fan base that's spread wide. You can't. It's impossible. I've talked at length with a lot of people about this. It's impossible because if you stay close to the source material, the original source material, those people are happy, everybody else mad. If you try to go too far and do carve your own path like they did with, was it the last Skywalker? It was different. It was original, not exactly great, but it was different, and people were pissed about that. It was too different from what they wanted. And then The Force Awakens was too close to the original. It wasn't fresh enough. You can't please everybody. So, I mean, it is what it is. You like you. I like to just go see the movie, enjoy it. You don't have to love it. It doesn't have to be the best movie you've ever seen, but I mean, it's a movie. It's their take on something, and you just have to go like, well, that was their version of it. It's the same people that not my president. Yeah,
Not my Star Wars.
exactly. It's like, not my
Hashtag
Star Wars.
not my Star Wars, yeah.
Like that's so. It's one of those things where it's like, what are you gonna do? But whatever. I got some. Ooh. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. pull this up. It's my new graphic. I got a new graphic and everything.
Love it.
It's sick. But also, this is something that everybody loves. This is Hercules. Everybody, you remember Hercules, the animated movie? Everybody saw this.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
another one of the Disney like staples. Great music, great storyline, great voice talent. You know, portraying these characters. So, Hercules will be the latest movie given the live action remake, a la Disney, as what they've been doing. Mikey says eardrums.
I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw this out there right now before you start on this because they might have the best fucking idea in the world for the show. I haven't been a big fan
of the remakes.
Of the remakes.
Yeah.
And it's maybe because I'm old enough. I'm old enough to remember The Lion King being original and, you know, all these.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're not good.
Right.
But I have a problem not comparing them to the originals. And I think it's kind of like you have to take them at their own measure to say whether they're good or bad instead of comparing them to the other ones. And I have a really hard problem not comparing them to the old ones. And I know they're trying to follow the story and be true to the stories and stuff, but due to political correctness and due to people being passed away or whatever, you can't like I don't know. That's why me personally have a hard time with them, but the kids love them. So I mean, they got that going for them.
Yeah, I mean, so here's and again, it's one of those things. How do I?
Just say it. Just blast me. Like Radar, you're fucking dumb, dude.
No. See, the thing is, you're right. You're absolutely right. The problem is the spread apart fan base. Yep. You remember the original. You are beholden to the original. You love the original, or you have feelings for the original. Sorry, Mom says I actually like the live action remakes better than the animated version. There you go. See,
you know what, Mom? No, you cannot replace Robin Williams with Will Smith. Cannot happen. Don't do it.
Nobody was gonna win that scenario. Nobody, and I love Will Smith, but nobody was gonna win. Nobody was gonna win that scenario.
Fucking fresh pinch up in that bitch. I love it. But what I'm saying is, you cannot. They would have been better off just going a whole completely different route with like. Not even trying to make the guy funny. Just don't even make him funny. Just make him like something different, and it would have been more to me as an old man. See, Mom's like a kid.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know. She's just like, no, I love Mom. Sorry about that. But I'm just saying, like, it'd been better like having that character take a whole different direction or a whole different mantra. But you cannot turn Will Smith into Robin Williams. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then like the Pumbaa shit, like. You can't turn Pumbaa into something different than what he was. Like, just make him completely different.
He's the same. Okay, so like I said, it's just you're so attached to the original material that it's hard. And I'm the same way. I grew up on those Disney movies. I love them. I've seen all the remakes, and while I'm like, okay, they're good. They're you know, it's one of those things where it's like the news thing, even if they do a spot on recreation, I'm talking dialogue for dialogue with just upgraded graphics, you're gonna go, well, I've seen this movie. That like you're inside, you're like, I like it, but I've seen it. And then if they stray the path, like they did with Will Smith, because they had to. Guarantee you, if Robin Williams was still alive, they would have put his ass back in there. But but when you stray too far, you go, ugh, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like the thing that I remember. So it like I try to take that emotion out of it. I try to be like, I know this isn't the thing I love. They're just in my head I always go, this is for a new audience. This is for someone who's never seen this before. And I when I put that hat on, I go, I want them to fall in love with it the same way I did with the original. So, maybe, when my son gets older, sitting him down and watching the Disney originals, probably, But also, if this is the thing that they fall in love with, then so be it. I'm not going to be mad about that. It's a story that I love, and so we've seen the very faithful recreations with like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, where it's practically shot for shot, word for word. But what they did with Milan, and we haven't seen it released yet, it should have been out already. But they've gone away from it. They've kept the core of the story, but like kind of the love stories out. A lot of there's no songs. Like there'll be kind of musical cues where they should be, but like they're not gonna break out in song and dance. So I was so interested to see that version because it's like, how far do you stray before you're like, well, this ain't even the same movie. You know what I mean? Because I think there's like sorcerers and like, lots of high flying fighting, running on the walls and stuff. So it's like, well, is that still the Milan movie? So it's one of those things where now I'm curious with Hercules, which had some very memorable songs. I mean, the Muses singing, the one, no, I won't fall in love, like all those songs that were kind of very easily, categorized with that movie. Do they stay that route and go very musical over the top, or do they go the Milan route and say, well, this is just a gritty, dark retelling of it? Now, we don't know the answer to that, but here's kind of a little contextual clue: is that they've already signed who's going to direct the movie, much like I said with what was it, the Taika Waititi doing the Star Wars movie. They've got the Russos to do Hercules. So you're going to have Joe and Anthony Russo, and if that name doesn't do anything for you, it should. Shame on you. Those are the guys that did the best Captain America movie. They've done the best Avengers movie, including Infinity War and Endgame. Those are the guys that brought, the massive powerhouse that we have today of Marvel movies. So those are the guys that are going to be doing this hopefully faithful Hercules remake. So knowing who's directing it, does that give you any feeling about it?
A little bit. I mean, like, well, they're kin to Frank Rizzo, right? Frank Rizzo. But no, but I mean, so okay, there's potential there. But I'm gonna say this too, because it's Hercules, and it's an ancient Greek, right?
Yeah.
Hercules is Greek. It's an ancient fable, so they have more material to work with.
Sure.
They can, like I said, with the Robin Williams thing, they can go pretty far off the path and still make it a good story. There's lots of story material there that they can work with. They don't have to go verbatim for the original animated show.
Right.
And still make it a good show. I think part of the problem is when they try to go verbatim, but they mess it up a little bit. That's where me as Radar, as the old fucking almost grandpa, probably, I don't know, my kids are fucking ridiculous, but I'm just saying, like, that's where I have issues with it. I think there's a lot of potential there. Those are, the films they've done in the past that I've seen, with Infinity War and Endgame and all that. Yeah. I was very impressed with those programs. So I think that they have the potential there. And I mean, it's Hercules. It's going to be tough for them. And I'm not envious. It's like me bitching about politicians. I don't want their job.
Right.
But I think they're fucking it up. So I hope they don't fuck it up. Hope I can sit here and be like, you guys are doing amazing. Good show. Love watching it. Thanks.
They're fucking it up. Not saying I could do better, but they're fucking it up.
My fat ass ain't going to do any better. I know better than that. But no, I'm excited. Will I watch it? Probably. Will I go to the AMC theater and watch it? Probably not, because I don't want to get the Rona. But
it's directed. Kamo Boss is asking how many versions of Fantastic Four are there. That question is so complicated, because are you saying how many like different formations of the group are there? Like when Spider-Man joined, or when like Wolverine joined, or are you saying like different versions of the same four characters? Because then there's multiple universes and multiple dimensions, and there's like the answer is infinity, because there's just it's comic books, so there always are. No, so with the I will say one more thing about Hercules, which has me intrigued. Here you go. Maybe this will fully sell you on it. So not only are the Russos going to direct it, but the person that's going to write it is a guy by the name of Dave Callahan. Again, most of you people don't know these names, and that's okay. That's what I'm for. This guy just wrote Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is coming out soon. It's going to be an awesome movie. I guarantee it. He's also, I had it here. He's also done work on this. He was the screenwriter for Wonder Woman, the new one, Wonder Woman 1984. He's worked on the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which if you haven't seen that movie, please God, Radar, go see that movie. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal good movie. Great family movie, great adult movie. So he worked on that one. He's also worked on the Godzilla, the most recent Godzilla movie, and Zombieland Double Tap. So that's the guy that's going to be writing Hercules, right? So that's a pretty good resume, you know, when you think of a Marvel movie, one of the better DC movies, one of the best animated movies ever, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the big monster movie Godzilla, and a zombie movie in Double Tap that had zombies and comedy. So that's a pretty good resume as far as recent writing, and he's going to be the guy writing the script for Hercules. So
no, it's just another. I think it's another name that, like I said, is given it potential. Yeah. But it's kind of one. I mean, look at, like, you know, talking about George Lucas earlier and fucking up films. Like you can put all the names in the world if you want. Ultimately, Disney's the one who's pulling the purse strings on it and puppet string it. So it may turn out to be something that nobody's going to like, or everyone's going to like. You know, like I said, I'm going to see it. I'm probably going to like it. Am I going to love it? Maybe, maybe not. Time will tell. I will. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the chats, man. Mike says, well, it can't be any worse than The Rock's version of Hercules. Yeah,
I fucking heard it.
I never even saw it. Like, I heard it was so bad. I never even saw it. I like The Rock. I like a lot of the work he does, but I heard that one was particularly rough. So I can't compare. Some more movie news. Some more movie news. Okay, you got to be a fan of this movie. Tell me, Demolition Man, Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man.
Yeah, fucking amazing.
Of course, right? Who isn't? Well, basically, Mr. Stallone the other day went on his, I think it was his Instagram or his whatever, and he basically did like an Ask Me Anything. He took in a bunch of questions and talked about, you know, Rocky being in like, if they were going to continue the Rocky story, some of his worst injuries filming Rambo, a bunch of questions. Well, right in the middle of it, he let a little something slip. And he was asked, will we ever see a sequel to Demolition Man? And this is exactly word for word what he said. He said that, I think there is. In fact, we're working on it right now with Warner Brothers, and it's looking fantastic. So it should come out. That's going to happen. Those were his exact words. So no announcement from anybody else involved other than Sly Stallone himself saying that it's gonna happen. It looks fantastic. That means they've probably already drafted a couple scripts and they're still working on the details of it. But to name a studio, right? That's half the battle for, you write a good script, it still's got to get picked up by a studio. So to say that we're working with Warner Brothers, it looks fantastic and it's gonna happen. I mean, you take that to the bank. I mean, my God, how old? Like,
that's what I was just going to ask. Like, where does that mean? Like, where? Okay, so it's Sylvester Stallone. If he comes to any studio with a halfway decent proposition, they're going to hear him out.
Yeah,
right.
At the very least,
he's not fucking Radar and CQ. Like, we're going to your first script.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
How dare you?
Well, I'm just saying, you probably got a way better chance than I do. But I'm just saying, like, Sylvester Stallone goes to somebody, hey, we got this idea for a good script. We've got a couple ideas floating around. This is kind of what we're thinking. Is it like at that point, or we have a couple scripts written, or we're maybe in like pre-production stuff, we're actually getting some doing some casting calls and shit. And like, I guess, what level is that for him to say, it's looking great? I mean, fucking Trump says that about the coronavirus. I mean, to me as a lay person, right? Yeah, exactly. Fucking 15 years later, we're still there. But I'm just saying, like, for me as a layperson who doesn't know a lot about it, like, where does that put them exactly, or does that still kind of leave a lot of room for interpretation?
Yeah, I mean, it could mean anything, right? And it honestly, it could be him just blowing smoke. I mean, it's very possible to be like, yeah, it's gonna happen, because he doesn't care. I don't know, or he's looking for a job. If you've noticed, he's not in a lot of original movies lately. There are a lot of sequels to his '80s classics. So I mean, it could be him just pushing for his own job. But I tend to believe him. I tend to believe him that this is we're in an era of sequels, reboots, remakes, right? That Creed was kind of somewhere in between a sequel and a remake reboot. I absolutely could see it. I could absolutely see it. You know, Wesley Snipes is going to be in. I mean, my God, he ain't got nothing else going on.
He still owes the feds a bunch of money, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, no, and he died, didn't he? He died in the original run, right? Because they froze him and they blew him up, and he's probably not coming back anyway, unless he's like the liquid version, the T-1000 version. But yeah, I'm sure they could get somebody else. Another bad guy gets de-thawed from the '80s. Here's the thing.
Fucking Will Smith. Just throw Will Smith in for anybody who we can't find a replacement for.
There you go.
No, it's a fucking Will Smith. I'm sorry, Will Smith, if you're listening. He ain't listening. But if he is, don't come to Radar's house. I'll drink a beer with you, dude. But don't hate on Radar. I love you, Will Smith.
That's so true. No, that's so true.
Starting a diss track with Will Smith or some shit. I don't even want
to. We're gonna get in some beef with Will Smith, man. I ain't trying to bring that here. Pop culture war. We love you, Will Smith. Don't hate us. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, like, dude, my biggest concern is that movie came out in 1993. It's a bit past its prime. And you know, the crazy thing is I love reading articles about, like, all these movies that portrayed the future, like what they get right and what they get wrong. And actually Demolition Man has a pretty good track record with a lot of,
they're out of toilet paper.
They were using toilet paper. Everybody's eating fast food. I mean, like, there's definitely a lot of stuff. Virtual reality is a big deal. So Katie, what's up? Hey, Katie. So there's a lot of potential. My curiosity then is we saw this future movie from a perspective of 1993. So does that then mean we're going to continue that version of the future now in 2020? I think that would seem silly. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, right? It's got to be current time in the future. It's got to track, it's got to be 20 years past the first movie. So the sequel's got to pick up 20 years later. And now are we going to see a future that's based off of what we see today? Like,
what year? I don't remember. I spent a long time since Demolition.
Yeah.
When was it set?
Do you remember? I swear it was 50 years. I think it was supposed to be like he de-thawed 50 years later. So and the movie took place technically slightly in the future because it came out in 93, but that present day was 96. So what's 50 years later? We're talking 2040, something like that. So technically like
2032.
2032. Okay. Oh, there you go.
He was
on it. Sorry, with the Google. On it with the Google. I was close. I was about 8 years off.
You weren't bad.
So you got to figure what's 2032. So 20 more years. When they say we're in 2055 or something like that. And now is the future more futuristic off of that? I mean, like, I don't know. How do you? What's the play? I don't know what the angle is. But obviously the easy answer is more bad guys de-thaw from the past, and now he has to stop them. But he's retired and he's coming out of retirement, very much like Rocky or Rambo. He's living a peaceful life and has to come back out of retirement. Something, I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. That's that.
I mean, I might just I don't know.
I don't know. As I said, I'm sputtering here because I don't really have a good take on Demolition Man, Demolitioner Man, Demolition Man to the max, or whatever they call it. But okay, let's talk about something a little more present, a little more in the present. And I'm gonna pull up. So apparently when I did the last transition, I blew out some eardrums. So if I blew out your guys' eardrums with that transition, I will fix that problem. I apologize. I'm going to overlook the transition for this one. Go with the more silent transition. But apparently, I didn't realize that other transition had sound to it. So that's my bad. Anyway, so Ballerina. When you saw John Wick, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you saw
Yeah.
the most recent Parabellum.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So in that we learned that there's a lot of these different families and a lot of these different, organizations, what have you. Well, everybody knows that John Wick Chapter 4 has been greenlit, although it got pushed back a year, obviously, because of the whole COVID thing. But what a lot of people don't know is behind the scenes, they're working on a spin off series of John Wick. And actually, on top of that, they're also doing a spin off TV series that's going to be about like the Continental Hotel. Like it's going to have all that. Like that's going to be the TV series. But there's a spin off movie, and that movie is going to be centered around a ballerina. So very early, no directors yet, no actresses yet, no nothing yet. But this is the scoop that we have. This is all speculative, so forewarning, this is all speculation. So there's some casting breakdown rumors for this ballerina movie. Basically, Lionsgate and Summit Entertainment, the two production companies behind the John Wick series, are ahead on the spinoff. They are. It was basically a scoop was found out about. They call it a casting grid, like when they're looking for people. But basically, the studio is looking for. They're looking specifically at Chloe Grace Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz. If you remember, she played Hit Girl in Kick-Ass. She was the little kid that was like a crazy badass assassin, and has done a bunch of stuff since then, but most recognizably for Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2. So they're looking at her or possibly someone like her. She's being eyed to play the character named Rooney Brown is going to be the main character. She comes from the director crime family. She's a trained killer, travels the globe, eliminating terrorists and other bad targets, but refuses to kill anyone that she doesn't believe deserves death. And then after being targeted by a rival organization, she retires, but then her entire family is slaughtered and she must seek revenge. So they're also, in this casting breakdown, they talked about John Wick would make a cameo appearance. Some other characters from the universe would make appearances, like Winston and Sharon from the Continental Hotel. So it's definitely going to tie into that universe while being its own thing. The breakdown does reveal that the antagonist of the movie is a character named Mayor Elias. Mayor Elias Muller, and he's the leader of this sleepy little town called Sunnyvale. And it's basically he's a psychotic killer that leads this, and it's a town full of assassins, so it's very like looks suburban, and basically but it's like they're all assassins really. So obviously no release date. There's some producers that are attached and things, but for now we know that John Wick Chapter 4 is set to hit theaters May 27th of 2022. So you got 2 years till that movie comes out. But apparently they want to start filming this movie end of this year. So there's a very good chance we could see this movie hit theaters before John Wick Chapter 4 even happens. So that'd be an interesting take on that. So what do you think? What do you think? A ballerina assassin movie? You down?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why the fuck not?
I mean, if it's set in the John Wick universe and we're
Yeah.
talking that kind of action, I mean, why not? Why not? I'm down for it.
It doesn't fucking surprise me. Like it does not in any way surprise me. I think it has potential.
Yeah.
I think it'll be worth watching. Again, probably won't see it in a theater because they'll still be shut down with the Rona. Don't need to be getting no Holocaust going to see a ballerina movie or some shit. But
no, you're absolutely right. Well, and again, if they're not going to start filming to the end of this year, we're talking at earliest summer of next year that it comes out. So a full year after this lockdown is probably going to be lifted, it might hit theaters. So I think by then we might see.
Has other films sort of got back to filming? I know we talked about Mission Impossible was one that they had stopped because they were in Italy and they got hit hard with all this. Have any of those other films kind of started getting back on track with production or no?
Everybody is currently shut down. Oh, I see Peter joined. Hey man, hey Peter. So every production is shut down right now. The the earliest estimates have like another 4 to 6 weeks. And then, and I was going to talk about this, but it's like it's so technical. But there's this one production company that they're kind of starting the dialogue, and basically what they're trying to do is come up with a almost like a COVID-19 uh, policy plan for how we're going to shoot movies. And so basically, what they would do is they would your typical full film crew. They're going to put them almost in like pods. You're gonna be in a different group, and they're gonna be small groups. And so like the production people that have to go set up are gonna go ahead of time, set everything up, and then there'll be like whatever, a week or 4 days, 5 days, a week where they just leave it and just like spray everything with disinfectant. And then you've got the next core group of people come in and will like as be like the actors, and they've been in quarantine for 2 weeks. So then they, in a hotel that's been like, taken for them, and then they'll go be shuttled straight to the set, shot with like minimal crew, like literally it's only the actors and like the director and the cameraman. So super minimalistic crew, and then they'll be released, and then obviously you'll have people tear everything down, and it's like they're basically just gonna shoot. The theory is that they could shoot movies in silos, and then these teams.
Just I can fix this for them because I'm a fucking technical genius. Why don't they just put masks on them, right? But have like that green screen color, and then have the special effects guys just fucking put in their mouth and shit.
You must have not seen the Justice League movie, because there was a very famous incident where a certain someone had a mustache and wasn't allowed to shave it. So that story goes, Henry Cavill shot all of Justice League. He was Superman, and then went off to shoot the Mission Impossible movie where he had the mustache. Well, they needed to do reshoots for Justice League, so everybody came back. He wasn't allowed to shave his mustache per his contract with Tom Cruise and that company. And really, a big of it was kind of an FU, because they could have easily shaved it. It wouldn't matter. It wasn't important to his character. But either way, so he had to shoot the rest of the stuff as Superman with a mustache. They're like, no problem. We'll just wipe that off in post-production. Man, it looked so bad. It looked like horribly, terrifying, scarringly bad. Yeah, it gave people like nightmares. the way Superman's face contorted and stretched at one point, like his nose was here and his bottom lip was like down here. It was a mess. It was a mess. Now, probably it had to do a lot with they were rushing production, because they did the reshoots very late and had to then do that CGI even later. So they were probably running out of time. Maybe if they had more time, it would have looked better. But yeah, I now have like scarred memories of anyone talking about CGIing faces. That's terrifying. That is a terrifying proposition. But yeah, it's a good thought though. Green screened face mask and then CGIing that away.
Absolutely. I think it's perfect. I think it's absolutely fucking perfect.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I mean, a lot of these are wrong. I mean, what could go right though? You're not looking at you're being very negative Nancy right now in this whole scenario.
Well,
things a lot of special effects have changed since then, right?
In the last 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It actually has. I can't believe that I know more about this than the fucking world does.
Of course, everything's much better, much better. But yeah, no, there's, and again, and so when this company came out with this proposal, they were the first to go like, look, this ain't foolproof. We just want to get the conversation started. Like, how do we get back to work? And they were basically literally shopping that policy document around to the different studios. Like, hey, give us feedback. How can we make this work? Now, Avengers level movie? No way. You can't possibly shoot a movie like that. But the smaller independent stuff, where it's a crew of 10, 15, 20, doing mostly on back sets or certain areas. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. And things
probable.
Yeah. I mean, it at some point it's gonna happen. Like, people are gonna start getting back out there. I mean, you can already see people are freaking out and protesting and doing all types of stupid stuff out in public. I don't recommend that, but it's gonna happen. I mean, at some point we're gonna get back to life. At some point, I'm gonna shave this ridiculous quarantine beard. We're gonna get back to normal life.
Please don't. I'll Photoshop it back on.
You're gonna green screen. I'll wear a
green
mask.
screen it
You
back
can
on.
green screen my beard back on. No, yeah, this is ridiculous. I can't with this thing anymore, and it's so damn hot. It's the
Dude,
summer.
it looks amazing.
Oh my
It looks
God.
amazing. Don't ever get
It's
as
gross.
I shaved off my shit like let's say Tuesday. I shaved my shit like Sunday. Like
Oh,
so
man. God bless.
I don't shave my face anymore because I have a DD214, so fuck that. But
I got a piece of
I
paper
mean,
that
like-
says I don't have to.
ever. Well, I mean, like with the Rona,
Yeah.
I should probably
Yeah, it's one of those
But-
things.
mask don't seal straight. Whatever, fuck it. I'm like I'm wearing a fucking M40 going to the grocery store or some shit. But no, man, you look good with that. You gotta leave it.
Yeah.
Just don't eat any like pie or some shit. That's always
It's a mess.
sandwiches like big like meatball subs and shit. Yeah,
Oh.
you wear more of it than you get in your mouth. It's
Ugh.
amazing, dude.
Ugh, ugh.
Embrace it. Love it.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, guys, we're at the top of the hour. We now we're gonna take a small break, everybody. Please don't go anywhere. We've got an amazing individual coming on. We got Travis Miller, who is a veteran, U.S. Army veteran. He is about to release his very own comic book that basically details real, true events in combat done in comic book form. So we're gonna ask him all about that. Definitely stay tuned. Watch that. We got a lot more show to come. And yeah, so we're gonna take a small break, guys. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you in a little bit. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
It's Friday night and I'm feeling low, and you're the reason that I do so. I'll keep on drinking till I comatose, or I pass out on the floor. You got me staring out the window, 8 hours late and you're a no-show. We're
stood there in that middle of church with a bottle of gin in my hand. I'm looking up at the rooftop like I'm trying to find my long-lost friend. My days turn to nights, my nights turn to weeks when you're living life on the road. I'm halfway back to New Orleans with a few more drinks to go. I said, tip 'em on back. Well, let's tip 'em on back. I finally made it back to Bourbon Street, picking some of them old night bars, hoping I could find myself playing music on my guitar. For the kid around, they all shouted out as the drinks began to flow. I pulled out that old guitar, then I showed them how to do-si-do. I said, tip 'em on back. Well, let's tip 'em on back. I stood there in that middle of church with a bottle of gin in my hand, looking up at the rooftop like I'm trying to find my long-lost friend. Days turn to nights, but nights turn to weeks when you live a life on the road.
Call the show now at 415-889-8367. The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, there we go, guys. We are back. Welcome to hour 2 of Pop Culture Warrior. Of course, I'm, as always, CQ. I still have Radar. Radar is going to be hanging out with us in the background. And there he is. And guys, I'm so overly joyed. I'm over the moon to be introducing you guys, to have this guy on. Guys, we have Travis Miller joining us in the studio? Joining us on the call? There we go. Hey, Travis, what's up, man?
Hey CQ, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me on.
I'm so good, man. I'm super excited to have you on. We've known each other for a little while now, and I've kept up with a lot of the stuff you've been doing. When I heard what you're working on now, I was like, oh my God, I have to have him on the show because this is such a cool thing, such a unique thing, and I want to support it any way I can. This is something that I want as that kind of consumer. I think I'm like your target demographic, I swear. But before we get into all that, let's introduce the people to kind of who you are. So give us a quick bio, a quick background, where you come from, and who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Travis, obviously. We just said that. And I'm a Army veteran, spent 15 years in the infantry, and retired in 2014. Had a couple too many surgeries, and they asked me politely to, step on out. Thanks for coming out. So I went into advertising after that, but my passion in life had always been comic books, so growing up in Western Pennsylvania, I'd go to 7-Eleven, get comics or Kogos or whatever. And so I always wanted to do that. And we met actually at a comic book convention where I was working. I've done, little odd jobs here and there, working for different publishers at Comic Cons and, small writing and art gigs here and there. And figured it was time to do my own comic. I actually had started writing this story, The Last Patrol, as a screenplay, but figured it would be better as a graphic novel because that way I could actually get it out to people without having the whole studio creative process. So I partnered up with a longtime friend of mine named Scott McDaniel, and for the comic geeks out there, you probably have seen his work. He's worked on Marvel Comics for Daredevil, Green Goblin back in the 90s, and then he started with DC with Nightwing and Batman and Superman. So Scott's an awesome guy, super professional, well-known artist. I'm also an artist, but I figured it would be better for somebody else to draw the story, especially to draw in the big name.
Sure.
So We started working on this and we put it up on Indiegogo.com, and you guys can find it if you want. It's called The Last Patrol. Just go into that search bar and check it out. And him and I put it together. We brought on some other creatives. Rick Parker does the lettering. It's hand lettered, which is not something that's
Yeah, that's not really
too
done
common.
anymore.
Yeah, no. Rick Parker, awesome guy. He worked on Spider-Man, and he actually drew the Beavis and Butthead comic for Marvel. So that's pretty great. And we brought on a colorist. And so we're just funding it right now.
Right.
And we wanted to get out to as many people as possible.
Awesome. Okay, so that was a phenomenal background. So a lot to dive into. So we're gonna take this piece by piece. So you were Army veteran, 14 years. What was your MOS?
I was an 11 Bravo.
All right. So for the
Best
folks
job
at
I ever
home,
had.
yeah, best job I ever had. I love it. So for the folks at home that maybe don't know MOSs or don't know Army, because I know we got a lot of Marines and Navy and other people in there. 11 Bravo being infantry, and you, correct me if I'm wrong, you were airborne as well.
I was airborne qualified, but I'm a 5 jump.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, no loss. I'm an airborne guy myself. I unfortunately didn't make it 14 years. I wish I could have served 14 years. I loved my job, and I would have stayed in had I not gotten injured. Had a couple more jumps than you. That's okay. But you know, you're qualified, man. You got the jump boots. You got the maroon beret. You know, you're rocking it. Don't 11 bang bang. That's right. The comments, they lighten up. Awesome. Also shout out, because I saw Mark, I don't know if you're still watching, but thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you checking us out. That's Mark Baker, people. That's creator of Private Murphy in the house, man. Show him some love. So we got the Marines lighting it up already. He says, yeah, Marines know what an 11 Bravo is, Dick. So there you go. So some people do know.
0311.
0311.
0311.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right. 0311s. They know. They know. Hey, we're like brothers, you know, brothers from another mother. They know. Also, real quick, I just want to shout out Mike Larson. I said the first person that would buy something from my merch store and lit up the board, I would send them something cool. He hit me up, said he doesn't want it. Next person that does it should get it. So if you're out there, if you're watching, I mean, we got a couple people watching. You want to hit up that merch store and get something, light us up, and you get a free prize on top of whatever you order. So there you go. He's being super cool. Also, I know that what was the other? I was gonna say something else. I totally forgot. Gotta love live TV, or live show. Anyway, so yeah, so you were in the military, 11 Bravo, infantry. Where'd you serve at?
I've been to Drum, Benning, Stewart, Korea. I was a DA Select recruiter for a while, which we're not going to talk about that. Trauma.
Nobody likes talking about recruiting.
No, it's a rough game. I'm not a salesman.
Well, you got to be now. Now you got to be. But well, that's jumping ahead. That's jumping ahead. Okay, so you serve in those places. Obviously, if you're drawing inspiration from combat stories, I'm going to assume you did a couple tours, or you had some experience over there.
Yeah, I did 3 to Iraq and 1 to Afghanistan.
Good times.
Wow, that's so long ago, right?
You're telling me, man. I got injured in 2005, so I get it. It was a long time ago.
Oh, geez.
But any memorable story? Well, obviously you have a memorable story, right? You're writing it. But anything you want to share as far as some stuff you saw out there, or any crazy exploits? I mean, we could talk funny stories too. I mean, anything you want to share with us?
I mean, we were in Iraq. It was 2005, so OIF 3. We were near Bakuba, Iraq. 3rd Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division, Sledgehammer. And we were getting ready to go out on a patrol, and this is a funny story. One of the other squad leaders, I'm a specialist at the time, one of the other squad leaders comes charging out of the hooch, and he's like, "Where's my sandwich?" I'm like, "What?" No, you got to imagine this guy. His name was Staff Sergeant Jimmy Brown. Awesome dude, right? Just funny, black dude, covered in tats, but he would jam out to like the Goo Goo Dolls, which always kind of weirded me out. But he saw them in Bosnia or something. So he comes out, he's like, "Where's my sandwich?" And everybody's just like looking around, the whole patrol, 20 something guys. I'm like, no idea. I put it in the microwave. Who took my sandwich? I don't know, man. Okay, we're gonna find out. And we're out on patrol for 6 hours. I swear, every 5 to 10 minutes, he'd be doing a radio check, asking where his sandwich was, who ate a sandwich. No idea. Finally, he's like, "Okay, fine, no problem. When we get back, we're gonna have a nice little smoke session. Somebody's gonna tell me where that sandwich went." And we're all out, pull the trucks in, start offloading gear. He gets us out into formation. All right, where's my sandwich? And everybody's just, I don't know. All right, everybody E5 and above, leave. So all the E5s and E6s stepped out, and it's just E4 and below. Because obviously E4 and below is going to steal a sandwich, right?
Right, of course.
E4 Mafia and all and such. Start smoking, all of us, except for me. And I'm just standing there, like, looking at him. Like, he comes over, he starts getting up in my face. "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing push-ups because you're sandwich, man." "Sergeant, I'm gonna like blah 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 blah." And then you hear one of his team leaders, one of his E5s, scream from inside the barracks, "I ate your sandwich." Okay, so maybe I'm not the best storyteller.
No, there's stuff like that, and we've had conversations in Radar. I know you're there. We've had these conversations before that, not every story needs to be that American Sniper story, that Last Survivor story, that Black Hawk Down story. That 9 times out of 10, the majority of the experiences there are just stupid shit that happens and ridiculous shit that happens. The guy got caught, beating it in the porta john, or the one guy shaving another guy's head. I have Mark Baker. We were just talking about Mark Baker, who was watching. He has Charlie Mike Comics, and what he did was he's doing very similar to what you're doing. He's doing a cartoony comic book that takes real life stories and puts them into comic book form. Now, me and him being friends, I gave him a bunch of my stories. He tends to gravitate to the silly ones. Everybody else's, their stories are about helicopters and flight medics and shootouts and this. And then he's like pulling my story where we're slapping each other in the nuts until one guy's nuts swelled up the size of a cantaloupe. Or the time I ended up in a firefight and I had no pants on, or like all these ridiculous stories that I've got other stories, but really it's true. The majority of and tell me this, you're the guest. Tell me if I'm wrong, but or if you disagree, that the majority of the stories we have from over there are silly ones, are things that are more camaraderie, boredom, breaking the monotony, those kind of things.
Oh yeah, I mean, totally. You have a bunch of 17 to 35-year-old dudes all living together for a year. It's going to get weird and it's going to get silly and it's going to end up being like a Rodney Dangerfield movie.
I want that as I want that as like the heading of my autobiography. The CQ story. It's going to get weird. Like it's just like that's the perfect tagline to a series. So you get out of the service. And you said you've had a passion for comic books. I'm along those same lines. Still have comic books in bags that I had when I was a kid, and I've loved collecting. And obviously, if you look at my background, I'm a giant nerd. Duh. So you transition. How do you make the leap from being in the infantry to like where I met you, where you're working at conventions? How does that transition? How did that come about?
So I've been around comics in the, especially the convention scene since the mid '90s. There was always the awesome Pittsburgh Comic Con. It wasn't called the awesome Pittsburgh Comic Con. It just was awesome. It was the Pittsburgh Comic Con. And basically my parents just let me leave for 3 days or 5 days, however long I was gone. And, I'd sleep in weird places in a hotel and, crash at the movie marathons. And I made friends with a bunch of artists and writers. And, I was the kid in class that would be telling jokes and not doing their homework and drawing all the time. So it was just kind of a natural leaning of mine that I loved comic books, right?
Hmm.
And one of my neighbors when I was young was, Scott McDaniel, who did the art on The Last Patrol. Uh, he actually taught me how to draw comics. So I just kind of developed all those relationships and became friends with a bunch of people who would teach me things and get my work in front of editors and so on and so forth. And by hook or by crook, I was going to end up in comics until I didn't. And I kind of got lost in the Army for a while.
Right.
Got lost on the way to art school, which is
as
fine.
we all did. Yeah.
But I would keep doing that until like I got to like my third unit, and then I realized that if the first sergeant or anybody knew that I could draw, that I'd be doing miscellaneous art projects for them on my spare time, and so I hid it as much as I could. But when you're in Iraq, or especially Iraq, my time in Afghanistan was brief and kinetic.
Hmm.
There was no time for fun things. There was patrol, 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 patrol.
Right.
And it was very austere. So, second and third deployments to Iraq, we have a bit more living luxury. Luxury is a loose term.
Well, I get you. For that time, for that place, it's a luxury compared to where we were in, 03, 05 and those. But yeah, go ahead.
So when I was, I had a couple of back surgeries and neck surgery and brain surgery, and I couldn't really do much anymore, especially on the PT side and whatever. So I would spend most of my time drawing and writing, especially because I got put on permanent staff duty in my last unit because I was being medically retired.
Right.
So I would just sit there and come up with comics, and one thing led to another, and I ended up in advertising where I was making TV commercials. So I'm still doing that storytelling, just in a slightly different medium with a lot less time.
Right.
So I was doing TV and radio commercials actually. And then I just decided, you know what? I got to do this book. I got to get it out. Who can I recruit? And first thing, called up and like, hey Scott, do you want to work on a comic with me or a graphic novel with me? And he's absolutely, let's do it.
Awesome.
And we've been working our butts off on it.
So okay, so for those,
I don't know how salty the language gets on here, so
no, you could drop whatever. Yeah, no, you can drop whatever you want, man. That's the great thing about internet radio. We can say whatever the. I don't. For some reason, I the comedy part of me doesn't want to immediately go to the F words, but you can say whatever you want. I don't care.
Right.
For those out there that are listening, watching, in the comments, you're gonna find pinned the Indiegogo link for The Last Patrol. So definitely check it out while we're talking or after. And consider supporting. So okay, so I want to understand this. So the idea behind The Last Patrol, is this one story or is this an anthology of stories? What's the premise behind it?
So it's one story, and it's fictionalized to a degree for time, and so that for storytelling purposes, and
Right.
I changed some people's names and a couple of other things. So think of it as, I don't want to say my version of Black Hawk Down, but like the events of Black Hawk Down,
Sure.
the time scaling is different and names have changed and so on and so forth. So something similar to that, to protect people and whatever. But it's one story, and it is about 18 guys, one combat patrol, 18 soldiers that go out on what should be a routine combat patrol. We would go out and just do presence patrols at night. This one actually, we would just do our presence patrols, and then everything went sideways, which is what happens. Not every time. You can have 100 days, depending on
Sure.
what point of the war you're at. Whether it's totally kinetic like the invasion, or OIF3, where you could be out for 40 days and not fire a shot, and it also depends a lot on the place, right?
Right.
So that's something I wanted to explain to people that are reading it, that not every place in Iraq was the same. Some were very calm, some not so much. So yeah, one combat patrol that goes sideways, and that's the entirety of the story. We keep it locked in. It's a one shot. You get the entire story from start to finish in the page count. And we try to keep everything very concise so that the storytelling is very fluid,
Okay.
right? We try to.
So okay, so it's one story. I guess so. This is gonna be told in one issue, correct?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
So
one shot. It's not a comic book per se.
right,
It's a graphic
it's a
novel.
graphic
So
novel, right?
yeah.
So okay, so when you release this on the Indiegogo, which
Mhm.
for those that don't know, it's a, it's crowdfunding. It's you put out there what you're looking for, and if you can meet the goal, it happens, and make you there's rewards and things like that. Um, the other one, what's the other? The others, I can't. I'm drawing a blank on the other.
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Jesus, thank you.
Yeah.
Like the other, just out of curiosity, is there a reason one over the other or one instead of the other? Just
Uh,
personal choice.
kind of business reasons.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kickstarter, yeah, it was a business decision. We were looking at different rates
Sure.
of how much you actually get to keep, because we have a certain amount of money raised now,
Right.
but we don't get to keep all of that. But we get to keep more of it from, instead of using Kickstarter, which has higher fees than
Gotcha.
Indiegogo, lower fees.
Yeah, there's something for people to learn in case they wanted to do that. Okay, so you're on Indiegogo now. Remind me what, and because I checked all this and of course I've forgotten. I've slept since then. But the original goal was how much?
The original goal was $500,
$500.
and I set it super low like that. That's the default setting,
Hmm.
so that uh,
Because you want
it's
to
a
get
little
it done.
exactly.
And for that money, I mean, the idea is that for, let's say you only raise 500, you could make so many of them to get it out there, right? I mean, that's kind of the point.
Right.
So, where last check, where are we at right now in the Indiegogo?
So last time I checked, we had over 200. I'm actually going to check it right now while we're talking. Last time I checked, we had over 200 backers. So that's 200 people that are getting comic books. Over 220 backers,
Fantastic.
and we're almost at $8,400, which,
Wow.
just so people know, that covers our hard costs. That covers the printing, the shipping, the all the perks, and getting everybody else except for me paid.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, so that's gonna because sometimes people hear, oh, all this money, like you're multiplying out the amount of work and the amount of the physical things you're gonna have to give.
Mhm.
But there's also with this kind of extra money that came in, you were able to do more with the book than you initially had planned, right?
Right. So initially we were going to do it as just black and white, but because we were able to raise so much so quickly, we were able to hire on a colorist. So instead of it being a black and white graphic novel, it's going to be full color.
And what I'm gonna do
So that's
now.
a huge bump.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put up some pictures so people can see. Let's do this. And so now people are gonna, as we talk, they're gonna see some panels, both the fully colored and also the black and white panels that of the Last Patrol. And clearly, I mean, the artwork is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The black and white looks good, but man, brought into the full color, wow, it really does give it a whole nother layer of kind of life, almost a 3D effect. It goes from a very kind of static image to like, wow, it almost has like these characters have kind of a life, a physical movement to them when given that full kind of 3D color. Um, so so this I mean you wrote this story. We've said it's fictionalized to a degree, and for anyone that thinks that like movies like American Sniper and that they're not adjusted, like, yeah, come on, let's be realistic. Everything, no matter how it's impossible to tell a story completely 100% true to life because there's so many details, right? I mean, me going to make breakfast, I could bore you with a 2-hour story of how I made breakfast. So I think it perfectly makes sense to kind of structure a story this way. So you wrote it out. How do like I'm curious, how do you go from writing the story out to like almost like directing it, right? We see the different angles, right? Who's talking and where the camera is looking, so to speak. Who kind of puts that thought and that work into it?
So there's a couple of different quote unquote schools of thought. There's the Marvel way and then there's the DC way, right? So the Marvel way is you write up a loose plot of however many pages with what goes on, and you send it, it doesn't have dialogue or captions or anything, and you send it off to the artist, and the artist does their work, and then you come back and the writer and editor come back and do the words and the balloons and all that. And then there's the DC side of things, or the DC school of thought, where it's very blocky, panel by panel. Page one, 4 panels, split. First panel, uh, you know, like this and like that with everything, all the detail. And I really like working like that. And Scott McDaniel, my penciler on this, he really likes that as well. We choose. I make strong suggestions as to camera angles because some guys like to write out these big, long plot lines and layouts and roughs. I just type,
Mm.
right? And what it plays like a movie in my mind, so that's kind of how
That's how
I
you
write
see
it down.
Sure.
Yeah. So and I include references, and in the Word document, I'll link to pictures and whatever of how things look. But I try to be as descriptive as possible in the script with camera angles, who's talking, what's going on,
Right.
what the background looks like, just to make the work on the artist easier because it takes it. You look at one page of a graphic novel or a comic book, and it takes about a 10-hour day to do that, just the pencil. It's a fast process in compared to making movies, but it's not as fast as people think.
Sure. Yeah, but you think these guys just bang it out like one, two, three? It's a lot of work. I know for most they're working on this like ridiculously giant sheet of paper that then gets shrunk down. I mean that's the classic way. I think it's mostly digital now, but I remember the classic way is like they'd have this comic like comically large sheet that they're working on, and then it gets shrunk down into a cover or to a page or whatnot. But
Yeah, so
good.
so the process that I work in when I'm drawing, and I learned this from Scott, is we always start small with little thumbnails. It's like uh, 1.25 inches by 3 inches to keep the ratios,
Hmm.
and then start enlarging it from there. So that by the time, because you have to work in your perspective and your detail and all that. So by the time, sorry about that, I had a phone call, which I declined. Uh, uh, so by the time you get to that 11 by 17 comic book page and you're drawing real big, everything's already been worked out. And then it reduces back to the size you have in your hand that you're reading so that the detail isn't lost. It actually looks amplified.
Right. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you were talking about, oh, and I say, hey, King, what's up, man? I see you joined. So, and guys, if anybody has any questions in the audience about Travis, about the work that he's done, about the comic, please post them in the chats, and we'll get the questions answered. If not, you're just gonna hear my questions. So you talked about like, having that because I'm assuming. Let me start this way. I'm assuming that a lot of the artists and writers and the people that you're working with aren't veterans themselves, correct?
That's correct. Rick Parker, our letterer, actually is a Vietnam era veteran.
Okay.
So that was, super cool. He's a great guy, absolutely fantastic guy.
Okay.
But he's the only other veteran, I should say.
Right. So for a lot of this, especially in translating your words to what they're gonna draw and what they're gonna put out there, I guess a lot of this has to do with like, did you give them pictures of like you in uniform or of you when you were out there, or was it mostly like stock images that you just tried to match up to that timeline?
Yeah, so we spent about 2 weeks gathering photo references of everything from an M249 saw to what our M4s look like to LMTVs and Humvees and nope, that's not the correct model of Humvee because
Right.
we had these ones and that ones, or what a Bradley looks like, or you know For environments, we use a lot of stock imagery as photo reference. Scott is fantastic at drawing environments, as you can see from some of the work that you've put up.
Yeah.
And very detailed descriptions. So it's kind of fun like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I one of the baddest habits I think a lot of veterans have is, you watch, let's say, a movie like Black Hawk Down or something like that, or you see material like this and you start to nitpick, and you're like, that uniform doesn't look right, or the fucking, the badge isn't the right way, or the flag is turned the wrong way. So like I've been scoping these images as they're flying by, and really trying to spot, like, okay, where's the detail I messed up. Did you have a lot of feedback in that, when these images are coming in, you're like, that doesn't look the way it should, or did a lot of it you kind of go like, it's artist interpretation?
Both. If I didn't feel like it was a huge problem, like I know a couple of scenes where soldiers are in a Humvee. I described a 240 Bravo and sent, and Scott worked on that. But for storytelling purposes, it was better to change it to an M250 cal,
Mm,
just because,
the
the way
Madus.
somebody positions themselves over a 240 takes away from a lot of facial expressions and, body language and whatnot. So we took some artistic license on that,
Yeah.
which, is for storytelling purposes.
Right. No, absolutely. I think and I think for the most part, I think a veteran audience is going to understand that and respect that. When I was working with Mark, when we were doing Charlie and My Comics, we very similar issue. I was telling him a story, and kind of part of the story is that at the time we didn't have those M2s. We only had the 249s, and we had these flat back, like, was it the Jeep style Humvees, and
Oh yeah.
the only thing you could do is we put this like wood pallet, and then put the 240, and then, or the 240, and then like ratchet strap it down to the to
Hmm.
the to the top. And I'm like, there's no, like, other than describing it that way. And if you draw it out, it looks ridiculous. It looks ridiculous. I have pictures of it, and the pictures look ridiculous. So it's like, when he was doing up the comics, like, let's just, it's a mounted M2. It's a mounted 50 cal. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It doesn't change the story. It doesn't change the heart of the story. What happened? You know what I mean? It's just for the sake of the story. So no, but yeah, but I think, as I was looking it over, I really couldn't spot anything. Definitely, some of the characters look a little, almost got that Gears of War vibe, where they're just a little bulkier than I remember. I remember, maybe my guys were just a lot of scrawny guys, but not a lot of big bulky dudes. But it definitely gives it a good action feel. I love the feel of it. Like, you get, generic soldier number one. Like, you believe, and then, the markings, the unit identifications, the flags, everything looks so good. The camo, like, I can tell what year it is just by the camo and the type of gear that the guys are wearing, and so that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. One, I connect with it on a personal level. I'm like, oh shit, that's my error. That's my guys. I understand those guys. But having the pouches the way they are, like, a lot of people wouldn't get this unless you were there. And, like, having the pouches a certain way, and wearing that certain, the certain desert camo with the certain attachments and things. It's like, oh yeah, I know exactly when that is, and I know more or less where that is just by a picture. So you guys did a phenomenal job, just nailing the artwork. This is so this is you. This is your chance. What is the pitch for the audience? Right now, we got a bunch of people watching now. We have, people are going to watch this on the playback. People are going to listen to this in the podcast when we push it. So, what is your sell? Why should people want to buy this book, want to read this book, want to support your artwork?
So this is, a based off of actual events thing. It's not, and we're regular guys. We're not, it's not a cool guy, Ranger, SEAL, special recon type of dudes. We're regular guys
Bunch
in
of
this.
grunts.
Bunch of grunts. There's a 18-year-old kid in there that just wanted to go to woodworking school and needed a way to pay for it, right? And that's an actual conversation that pops up. And one of the conversations that pops up is, this guy wanted to get out and do something else, but had a wife and kids to take care of, and that happened a lot.
Yeah.
So it's something that I wanted to make sure was covered, that we are just regular guys in this. And the story is, something that actually happened to me and my platoon. We just went on a typical combat patrol. It just went badly. And, the 18 of us have to survive the night on our own, while we wait for QRF and, everybody to show up.
Right.
So, it's a work from the heart that we try to do very accurately, and so that it's accessible not just to veterans, although veterans, guys, brothers, sisters, I appreciate your support. Please come out and help us. But also so that it's accessible to the general public that might not understand some of the things that we went through. And honestly, this is a way, there's a lot of things that we can't talk about with, our civilian friends or our spouses or whatever. But this is a way that I've been able to get out some of the things that, are on my mind all the time.
Sure.
And it kind of therapeutic in a way, very therapeutic actually.
Yeah.
To be able to tell this story.
One of the things I can say too is that, for those that know, I do stand-up comedy, and one of the things I love about stand-up comedy is it gives me an opportunity to control my story, in that I can put it out there, and I don't have to be beholden to what happened. So I'm not necessarily like I'm going to change what happened, but just I get to be in control of it. I get to present it the way I want to present it, and less let it define me. And so I wonder if you have a little bit of that as well, and that this is you telling your story, your truth, in a way that you can control, and the way it's put out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that pretty wholeheartedly. Also, something about this is I actually wrote myself out of the story while changing people's names, so that nobody would know, except for the guys over there. Obviously, nobody would know who I am in the story. Well, I mean, at one point it gets narrowed down a little bit, but that's giving away the story. But so that it's not about me, it's about us.
Right.
And that was very important to me, that we do. A couple other possibly odd things about it is that I went out of my way to make sure that we didn't actually show the guerrilla insurgents that we were engaged with, because
the unseen enemy.
Right, it becomes more of an environmental thing, and it makes it more about us as a group as opposed to them, the enemy, right? So it's not an antagonist protagonist kind of thing, but it's more like, like a zombie movie or the Walking Dead TV show, where the zombies are always around and they're an environmental hazard, but there's no actual conflict between the people and the zombies. They just go and kill the zombies.
This isn't a story. This isn't a story about killing people. It's a story about surviving.
Exactly. And I don't know how many other guys are gonna, or what other guys are gonna think about this, but my train of thought when it comes to, what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan is that, for the most part, the people that we were in, the enemies that we were engaged with, weren't necessarily evil, right? They were just doing what they thought they had to do, and we were just doing what we had to do, right? And in a different time, in a different place, we might have gotten along, Strangely enough, I actually had a painting teacher who was at one point involved in the insurgency, and him and I got along great. It was actually kind of cathartic, and he was an amazing painter, an amazing portrait artist. And that's kind of, it's kind of weird. That's, the weirdness about, war. It's that time and that place, and now here we are doing something else.
Yeah.
So it was important to me to not show the enemy too much, and also to not make them out to be truly evil.
Sure,
If
sure.
that makes any sense.
This is not propaganda stuff. This is just you telling the story as you saw it. And if the truth of it is that you didn't see a lot of faces. I was there. I remember a lot of times the people you're shooting at, you don't they're shadows, or they're areas. They're not typically right there in front of you for you to see.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this before we let you go. Two questions. So when you did this and you're starting to get some of the, or maybe when you're doing the writing, or when you're starting to get some of the artwork back, did you share it with any of the guys that maybe had that same experience, and like almost to get sign off on it, or just was it kind of an unwritten thing, or how'd you feel about that?
I shared the story. I shared the script with some of the guys that were there, the ones that I could find, uh, and they've all been really supportive about it. A couple of them actually backed the project, which is fantastic. Uh, they're going to get copies anyways, regardless, if I can track them down.
Of course.
But I wanted to make sure that there are specific people in there that I wanted to make sure were okay with what I was doing before I went and did it.
Right.
I and that's also why I changed some names and some timelines and whatever, just to have a little bit more respect for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're haven't seen some of those guys in 10 years. We're still family.
Yeah.
Some of them I haven't seen in 15 years. They're still family, regardless, of how much time takes place. And that's I try to talk about that bond in the book.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. I have a funny thing about this is that, so I got injured. It was on a mission. A lot of guys were there, and for a lot of the people involved, and again, these are multi-combat toured veterans, battle hardened. We've been through some shit, but for a lot of people that were there, what happened to me is the most traumatic thing they would have seen, other than we lost a few guys. So outside of that, it might have been some of the most traumatic stuff they've ever seen. So that becomes their story, which is weird, because right, it's my story. It happened to me, but it also becomes their story. And then years later, onesies and twosies, I've linked up with some of the guys, and we start catching up. We start talking about it, and it's sometimes so interesting, their version of my story, or their version of that story. So hearing it from their perspective, or maybe they get the details wrong, or you start to believe, like, did I get the details wrong? But it's this weird, I don't know, did you have any experience with that, where like you remember it this way, and then you start talking to this guy and he remembers it kind of differently?
Yeah, so as I was writing this out initially, there were parts that I didn't quite remember. And so I reached out to a couple battle buddies that were there, and they filled me in on some of the details that I was missing in some of the events. And yeah, I mean, we've been in firefights. You don't remember everything that goes
Sure.
on. It's too fast. It's too hectic. It's too chaotic. And you're not really, taking a mental note of, you know what, I gotta remember this, because in 15 years I'm gonna make this graphic novel.
Right.
Hold on, time out. Let me jot this down. You're over. Okay, you're over there, and you're okay. Yeah, yeah. That's not how it works,
Yeah.
right? So you do the best you can with the memories of the people and events around you, but some of what happens in this graphic novel are seared into my brain, and I will never forget.
Sure. And
And others,
it's also
I
a
don't
matter
remember.
of perspective too, because from where like your truth, like you ever see that, it is like the cartoon where it's like it's a six on the ground, but depending on where you're standing, it's a six or it's a nine. So right, it's where you're
Hmm.
standing is the perspective. I've been in firefights, and we'll talk about it afterwards, and it's like, oh, I saw the guy run this direction and he did this, and the other guy goes, no, from my angle I saw what he really did, and he went down into the wadi and then came out the other side, and like, oh, for me he just disappeared. And so it's also a matter of, you know the full battlefield picture versus just your perspective. So a lot of kudos to you for getting those, bouncing it off and getting the most clear picture you could with that. One last question. So is this a one and done? Do you feel like there's other stories that you want to tell, or is there other projects that you want to see after this? What's the next steps for you?
So I'm already working on my next book, which is not a military book. It's actually a science fiction time travel thing, which I'll tell you
Okay.
about later. It's super fun. Uh, but with The Last Patrol, I'd like to do more stories. I don't know if I want to do any more of my stories. I I would like to do some other stories that don't involve me,
Right.
and maybe make this, a semi-regular thing as a way of not just helping myself, as this is my business, this is what I do, but also helping other people, mostly helping other guys tell their stories. Uh, so if anybody wants to reach out to me and, say, hey, I have an idea and I want to talk with you about it, you can email me at travismillerart@me.com. It's super easy. And, let me know, give me a brief overview of what happened. And, if it makes a good story or I think it's a decent story, we can talk about it. I've talked with Scott and he's open to doing more of these, which would be great. But it's up to how much money we are able to get off of this Indiegogo project and what the demand is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great thing. I think it's an awesome thing, and again, for as many great military stories and movies and shows, there aren't, there's 1,000 times more stories that aren't being told. I served with the 173rd, and right now they have the most living Medal of Honor recipients of any military group, and not one of those stories has been utilized. And these are to get a Medal of Honor and live is a feat in of itself. So
Oh,
I,
absolutely.
I want those stories told. I want those guys' stories out there. I know plenty of guys who've been through some of the most traumatic things and emotional things, and have come out better for it. And I think those stories need to get out there. The story of triumph over whether it be physical or mental scars and wounds of war. So I think what you're doing is incredible. I think that's awesome for you to put this out there. I'm very excited to see it. I will be backing you right after this, and I
Oh,
can't wait.
thanks.
Of course, and I can't wait to get my hands on a copy and read the story, and hopefully I get. I want an autograph copy. I want a little original artwork in there, man. It's gotta be a collector's item. You know what I mean? We'll add it to the big board in the back of all my little knickknacks, and it'll be a permanent fixture on the Pop Culture Warrior show. Um, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no. So all right, one last question is from the audience, because it's such a great question. So and of course this comes from the Marine in the audience. How good are you at drawing dicks? Because that determines if I want you to do my story or not.
Okay, so I had this problem when I was a kid. I mean, and it's not even that big a deal because like 8% of kids have this problem where I couldn't do anything but draw dicks. I
That
mean,
is
these big
awesome.
veiny bastards.
Were any of them in helmets and parachutes and going to war?
Yeah, there was a Ghostbusters one because I'm kind of old, and a Back to the Future one, and a
That's
Batman one.
so. What you're saying is you're incredibly good at drawing dicks at this point.
Well, I can draw a Marine, so I think that kind of covers that.
Well done. Well done. Awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your
Thanks for
project.
having.
This has been absolutely fantastic. Please, I implore you guys, everybody watching, go check it out. It is. If you're not gonna, you know, back him, I understand. Like everybody's tight on money now in this crisis, but at the very least, share it out there. Let other people see what he's doing. Let other people get aware of it. Let other people get the chance to see it and back it. we have such a great audience, and as you can see, we get a lot of great comments out there. But yeah, so yeah, we'll definitely, hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, it's obviously it's already a success. I wish for you to have an even greater success. If you decide to do more of this stuff and publish more books, please come back on the show and tell us about it. I can't wait to hear about. I'm a huge time travel guy. Like you can see right over my shoulder is a flux capacitor. A huge lover of time travel stories. So we'll definitely have to link up and talk about that sometime.
Hey, it sounds fantastic. I'd love to.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're gonna take a super short break, less than 5 minutes, so that I can get some water, and we'll be right back, and we'll wrap up the show. Thanks again to Travis, guys. Check him out, and yeah, we'll be right back.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Been a long day, darling, down in South Louisiana. I spent the day out in the heat, working with these dirty hands.
Hey guys, we are back. What is going on? Woo! What a great that was a great interview. Travis is awesome. He's an awesome dude, great veteran, getting out there doing things. Really proud of him, and can't wait to get my hands on that book and add it to the collection. Radar, any thoughts on the interview?
Man, I loved it. I love it. I love when people sit there and they like you said before, own their story.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And me as a layperson, as not pop cultured, to hear somebody tell their, this is how things work behind this. I love like how things work behind the scenes and the real work that goes into it. I
Yeah.
mean, because you look at some of those stuff and like like you were talking about, you and I can look at those things and be like that M4 is not right. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
I've got a I've got a tattoo of a lion holding an M4 on my shoulder, right? And like I look at it and it fucking pisses me off all the time. There's no front sight post on it. You know what I mean? Like, but the tattoo guy was like, "What are you talking about? It's a front sight post." I'm like, "You fucked up my tattoo, dude. I was on my own forever." But I mean, so to hear like, oh yeah, we looked at, I showed these guys these 1151s or 1114s or whatever they had, and
Yeah.
all these things that make it to where you and I and other veterans can be like, wow, their shit's right.
Yeah.
That
They put the time
instead
and
of
care into it.
exactly. And so like, and to hear that back and forth as to this is the behind the scenes, what actually goes into it, it just didn't happen by accident,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. No,
Where
absolutely.
it's really cool to hear that stuff, and it's we had some awesome story. I love it. I love it. I love hearing fucking just like sit around and shoot the shit. I love telling my fucking stories. Love hearing other people's stories, and you know, it's all great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason I do this, and I hope it's the reason people listen.
Yeah. And
We've all got our stories. I mean, and some, like you said, some of them like the Rambo. They go, I shot 30 men with 30 rounds or some shit. You know what I mean, or whatever. And some of
30
it's
men with
like,
29 rounds. That's impressive.
yeah, exactly.
um,
And some of it's like the sergeant major put his fucking got mad when someone upper deckered the shitter at the in the in the L.A. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's whatever.
No, I do. And one of the things that I was really excited about doing this show is to highlight veterans that are doing these amazing things in the pop culture realm. And that's why I've had, comedians and artists and the creators, but also as an opportunity as a geek, as a guy who's super passionate. There's the guy that buys the DVD and then immediately switches on like audio commentary and the documentary of how it was done and the making of featurette. Like I want to interview directors. I want to interview writers. I want to sound composers, and like I want to pick their brain. Like how do you make this thing that I love? How do you make this beauty magic happen? And getting a peek behind the curtain. I that's what gets me excited. That's what really gets me excited. Because as much as I love geeking out over what's coming out and what happened and this and that and how it affects us, like I really love the idea of getting a peek behind and learning this stuff. So I'm glad
Right.
you're enjoying it as much as I am.
Absolutely. And like I'm a very much a layperson. I mean, you've kind of had your you've got your kind of ins with this culture and
Sure.
and not just the pop culture part, but the actual the making of it and how as a comedian to get started and all that stuff. And you look at someone like me who's like, I like to watch TV. You know what I mean?
You are a consumer
Netflix.
of the product. You are an
Yeah.
appreciator of the product.
Uh-huh.
So
And I do, and like you said, I like watching the how they make things and how they do this, and this is why it's really interesting to me. And I hope that people out there that are listening or who started out like me, and started out like all like Netflix, and now it's like, dude, what's coming out next? It's Nicolas Cage really going to be Joe Exotic? And I'm like, yes.
you're
So
spoiling our future headlines, by the way.
I'm working into it, man. It's exciting to me. It's exciting to me. And I want to call him Nick Exotic. I hope he does.
So yeah, so okay, so a couple more things. I know we've been going for a while now, so we'll hit up a couple more headlines and then we will call it a night. But first, still got to get sound effects for these little pop-ups. So yeah, obviously May the 5th, we talked about Star Wars and oh my God, Taika Waititi. God, that name is impossible to say. Taika Waititi. But I wanted to mention, in the wake of, we know Mandalorian's coming back to Disney Plus really soon. I wanted to say that in the meantime, before we get the Mandalorian to release, they've actually done a Mandalorian docu-series. We just talked about how we love to take a peek behind the curtain. Well, obviously they shot a ton of footage making this thing, and they basically made a making of documentary of the show as they were making it. So they're gonna have the Mandalorian docu-series. It's gonna be coming out next month. It's an eight episode series. So that's awesome. Almost as many episodes as there were episodes of The Mandalorian. And on top of that, we can confirm that Mandalorian Season 3 is already in the works. So Mandalorian Season 2 doesn't even come out till October, but they've already greenlit and started work on the Season 3. So, they're obviously, it's very early on. They're just doing the writing, the backbone of what Season 3 will be, as they're finishing post-production on Season 2. But very excited, very excited. Are you excited to see Mandalorian come back in October?
I fucking love it. I do. I'm excited. But on this docu-series, okay,
Yeah.
is that going to be how The Mandalorian was, where it's like one episode a week? Or is it going to they're just going to drop all 8 episodes once, so you can binge it kind of deal, or have they said?
I believe it is one episode at a time. And in fact, it should have it's called Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian. That's the name of it if you want to search it.
Okay.
The premiere was yesterday. So the first episode is up. And I believe it's going to be weekly released.
Okay.
And they didn't mention if it was going to like dump out the rest of it, but it's each chapter covers a different interviews, never before seen footage, roundtable conversations, the filmmaking process, yada yada yada. So I'm excited. I'm literally I've been getting ready for the show, but now that I've got a week until the next episode, I'm definitely going to catch up on on a bunch of stuff, inclling the docu-series. So
right, you're not gonna waste your time like shaving your face or anything.
That's not happening. But yeah, so and then one last piece of Star Wars news that I've actually been sitting on for a while. I was going to mention it last week and the week before, but we're always time crunch. So we talked about that there was rumor that Rosario Dawson was going to play a live action version of Ahsoka Tano, who's the character from the Clone Wars animated series and the Rebels animated series, and that she would be bringing that character to life in The Mandalorian Season 2. Everybody pretty much confirmed it. Well, she's officially going on record as saying that there is no confirmation yet. But here's what she says. But when it happens, I will be very happy, and I'm very excited for that to be confirmed at some point. So I don't know if that's ever been more of a I'm not going to confirm that it is happening yet.
Right.
Because, how else can you possibly take those words? There is no confirmation yet, but when it happens, I will be happy. I'm very excited for that to be confirmed. She's basically going on the record as saying that, yeah, it's happening. I'm not going to be the one to tell you it's happening, but it's happening. So who knows if it's going to happen? Wink, wink. But yeah, so Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. Damn, these names are, I swear to God, I'm slightly retarded to pronouncing names. But a couple quick things. So guys, if you haven't seen it yet, Netflix has released the Space Force trailer. So the trailer for the show starring Steve Carell as this 4-star general of the Air Force who's going to lead the Space Force. It looks hilarious. If you don't want to go on YouTube and find it, it's right there on the Pop Culture Warrior Facebook page. So find it. Have you seen it? Have you seen the trailer?
No, I forgot to check it out. I was going to check it out before the show, and I was like, I forgot. But question for you. because we're both soldiers, right?
Mhm.
And I spent some time in the Marine Corps, so we got that kind of going on. Could you imagine? In my mind, I think when they said they're going to start a space force, we need a commanding general. I think of someone like fucking just like Steve Carell. I
Yeah.
really fucking do. Like, it's kind of a joke. So okay, and then the fucking Pentagon comes out and says aliens are real anyhow. So maybe they really do need a space force.
Yeah.
No, but
I think they had to get ahead of they they knew it was coming, so they're like, well, we should get a jump on this thing because we're gonna need it.
and now Trump be like, we got a space force with Steve Carell in fucking charge. What if it's like an actual behind the scenes look at the shit and they're just releasing it as like a Netflix trailer because they don't have the fucking funding from the Pentagon?
They did. They released the UFO footage pretty under the radar. Maybe this is their sneaky way of going like, look.
Because remember they were all like when they were like when the first like photos kind of came out, the little sneak peeks or whatever, and they were like, oh my god, his ribbons are perfect, everything's just like right in order, he's got a perfect uniform. Maybe it's because he's actually like a 4-star general, we didn't fucking know. We didn't even know.
They've was it when you get like the honorary graduate, right? So he's like an honorary 4-star general in the Air Force. They're like, yeah, fuck it. He's just as qualified as anybody else to do this thing that no one's done.
What else does an Air Force general do? Like this beyond like
Hey.
I saw 20 minutes of combat in the first call for. I'm like, fuck it, sir. You're the most qualified guy we got. Like, I don't know. Talking shit.
That's so true.
He actually qualified with his rifle, and they're like, well, fuck, dude, we better make him a general. I don't even know what to do with him.
There you go. He's better than most out there. Speaking of Netflix, actually, everybody and their mother has been obsessed with Joe Exotic and the Tiger King documentary. So much so that Hollywood has decided they want to do a scripted series about Joe Exotic. But here's the crazy thing. It's like every different company wants to do their own. I can count at least 4 different, unrelated Joe Exotic universe related shows happening. The biggest news coming out is that Nicolas Cage, of Snake Eyes and Face Off and all those, is going to be playing Joe Exotic. So basically, the new scripted TV series is going to be an 8-episode limited series produced by Image Television Studios and CBS. So it's going to be on CBS. And the series will be based on the Texas Monthly article. So there's an article on Joe Exotic called Joe Exotic, A Dark Journey into the World of a Man Gone Wild by Leif Registad. So CBS Television Studios has optioned that project, and they optioned it back in June, and they're looking to obviously start it. The series will tell this tale of Joe Exotic. It follows Joe during his attempt to keep his struggling zoo under increased scrutiny and attempts by outside forces to shut him down. The series intends to examine how Joe, now legally Joseph Allen Milando Passage, became the notorious Joe Exotic. So you want to be Radar Exotic? Nice.
I want to be Radar Exotic.
Very
I
nice.
need to be perfect. That would be the name of my show when I finally get it. Radar Exotic.
So that's a great name. So here we have. I've put together top left picture of Nicolas Cage, top right obviously Joe Exotic. The bottom 2 pictures I found are someone who blurred the line between Nick Cage and Joe Exotic to kind of give us an idea of what that might look like. So you kind of have your first look at what Nick Exotic, I guess we'll call him, would look like in those bottom 2 panels. So if that won't give you nightmares, I don't know what will. So
or a hard on, depending on
depending on if
gay are you?
Yeah, depending if you like enough. What was it? He's doing heroin or I don't know, whatever the hell drugs. Meth. That's right. If you like tigers and meth, there you go. You'll get excited. But what else? So Kate McKinnon is producing and starring in another show about it, but she's playing Carol Baskin, and it's a series based that was based on a podcast called Over My Dead Body. And it's the telling of kind of that whole story, the Carol Baskin side of the story. So that's another one. And then there's American Crime Stories. Ryan Murphy is reportedly in talks to develop another scripted limited series, this one for Netflix, with Rob Lowe playing Joe Exotic. So we're not going to run out of this material for a while.
Rob Lowe is Joe Exotic. Because the Nicolas Cage one looks all right. I'm not even going to bullshit. It's pretty good.
It's convincing. Yeah.
Rob Lowe, not so. I don't know.
I mean, that's that it's a stretch.
What I can't wait for though, when all these start filming and everything, when all these fucking Hollywood actors have to grow a mullet, like as part of their contract to be filmed as Joe Exotic.
You don't think
I
they're just
wanna
probably
see Nicolas
wig?
Cage. I will fly to wherever they're fucking filming just so I can run into Nicolas Cage at Walmart looking just like that.
I did the handlebar mustache with the
Oh.
chops and the mullet. Yeah, it's what a look. What a look. Um, yeah, that's that's a tough one. But yeah, so you have your first sneak peek at what it very well could look like. For
Better, not could, better. It had best look like that. It would
Best.
behoove them to make it look like
it
that.
would definitely behoove them to look like that. Okay, a couple quick more stories, and we'll wrap up this edition. So in gaming news, and I wanted to put this out there because it's 2 days away. So Xbox we know is coming out with the Series X. That's going to be their big new console coming out holiday season. We've seen what the system looked like. We've seen what the capabilities are. We've seen the graphics. We've seen the hardware specifications. What we haven't seen is how will games look, right? We have the theory because of the specs, but we don't know what it actually looks like. So the first look of next-gen gameplay will be shown globally live May 7th. Mark your calendars. May 7th, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. They will be releasing a live look at, or it's probably pre-recorded, let's be honest, but they will be releasing gameplay footage so you can see what games are going to look like on the next generation of console from the Xbox perspective at least. So what do you think? You're gonna check out some you ready to check out some Xbox gameplay?
I'm excited for it. I really am. I think it's gonna be sweet. Am I gonna get one? Yes, probably.
As soon as you went,
Probably.
I was like, you're thinking about how much it's gonna cost to get one, right?
I am. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Because I'll throw a little bit of personal story. I kind of got laid off the other day. So old Radar, he's kind of pinching his penny. He still gets his VA pension. Still gets his retirement. Got blowed up. Time to fucking catch my movie check.
Mm.
But the other part of it kind of dried up. So I'm like, my savings and shit.
Mm.
So now mom was like, I'm gonna pay the fucking mortgage and all that shit. I'm like, how am I gonna afford a new Xbox? You have your priorities, I have mine, woman.
Oh,
But I mean, I'm looking at it like, God, I do want one. I do.
yeah.
But I don't.
I'm
I
a
don't know.
sucker. I'm an absolute sucker. I will end up getting one. I will.
I will. I will. Is she watching right now? No, she's not. I'm gonna get one. But is
Come
it
hell or high
the
water.
first one? Right. Well, she's like, well, you want a new Harley? You want a new Xbox? I'm like, fuck. Gotta pick one. So
I personally, I think one would be well more utilized than the other, but that's just me.
what, the Xbox or the Harley? It's hard to tell, dude.
I
Hard to tell.
know. I've actually been dying to get me a Harley myself. But
Dude, they're fucking cheap right now. I'm not even gonna bullshit. Like, what? Every. Okay, so like I said, I still got my retirement and shit, so I'm still bringing in, some good shit. Fucking, what's up? And I'm still not. I guess I just started not working yesterday, so I'm not like out of it yet. And I already have like 3 people call me today, like, "Hey, I heard you need a job." So I mean, it was not gonna be long. Like,
yeah,
I will probably be able
Bounce
to work
right
like
back.
a week. And actually, I'm like, that was what her and I were talking about before the show. Like, well, how long do I want to take off before I have to go to work again?
There you
I
go.
might go camping for a week or some shit. But anyway, it's not really that much per se. But like around me, especially like the oil field guys have got laid off, and like the fucking coal miners have got laid off, and all these other people are laid off and shit. So it's like, dude, there was like a 2000, was it 17 or 18 Street Glide, a Road Glide, it's a Road Glide custom or some shit,
Mm.
for like $9,000, and I'm like, holy shit, that's like a 20 grand bike. Like, I don't know, do I want a $200 a month Harley payment? And we're talking about it on Friday, and then I got the warning order on Friday. Like, hey, man, I have a job on Monday. I'm like, well, shit. So our plan was this weekend was to go to the dealer or go to the bank, and like all these guys are like, I just need to pay off my loan so I get the fuck out of this thing. I'm like, neat. So now I feel like an asshole because I'm gonna steal a bike from someone for half price. But part of me is like, I really want a new Street Glide, so what do I do?
Yeah.
But
Decisions, man.
now I'm just gonna go pay cash for like an old one. I'm gonna go get an old Road Glide for like an '07 for like $4,000 and be like, mine. Suck it, nerd.
Good friend of the show, Mike says, CQ has some swag he can send you to make you feel better. So
It's good, man. I'm good, man. We're and I like I said, my retirement and stuff pays all our bills, and so
Right.
like a lot of my actual paycheck goes into savings. So we're not
Sure.
like we're not out of it. We're not fucked. We're not like, oh, well, now we better go go lie to the school. We need some more free lunches or some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we don't need to do some shit like that. But it's kind of like it just sucks. Like when you kind of have like your financial plans and you've got all that shit set up. And I totally get it. There's a lot of people in way worse situations than I am. So I'm not even gonna bitch about it. I can't go pay cash for a new Harley, and some people can't fucking buy diapers for their kids. So
Yeah.
there's a little, I legit feel bad, and I'm sorry if I'm feeling braggadocio or some shit. Like it's not that at all. Like
No. Hey,
but
everybody's
it was
got
kind
their
of one of
own
those feels
shit.
like, yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And I feel for everybody, and I'm really sorry for oh, I can't buy no Harley. It's not that. So
Hey, it's
maybe that's what I should do. I should take that a little bit we're throwing into savings every month, and like, but like, you know what? Hey, I'll say this, like, and we're cleaning out the garage. Like I said, got the week off work. I'm probably taking 2 weeks. That's kind of what I was thinking. Was just like 2 weeks,
Oh yeah.
hang out with the kids, hang out with mama, whatever. And so we're like cleaning out the garage, and I'm like, we should get rid of this shit. And I'm like, no, let's fucking put it on Facebook for free. Like, there's people who need a couch, who don't have a couch. Like, we got like a garage couch. Boom, so I'm gonna have the couch. Or we got all this fucking other shit. Like, hey, fucking, you can have it. I don't even care. Just come get out of my garage. We're like, do me a favor. I'm not even mad about it. Like, if you want to try to sell this fucking shitty ass stinky old couch that's full of sawdust for $25, you can. You know what I mean?
There you go.
But
There you go,
yeah,
man.
whatever.
That is
So I got people
absolutely
coming to
true.
get all my shit out of my garage. It's gonna be sweet. So I have room for a new Harley. Sorry about it.
Well, hey, Kamo Boss is out there on Mixer, and he says car dealerships are desperate for customers right now. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my god, they
So many
are.
businesses are desperate out there. So I have a feeling like there's going to be a lot of like COVID-19 sales coming up real soon.
Holy fuck! There was the one down the street from me. They've got a 2015 F250 Lariat Power Stroke, fucking loaded. Or no, it's a platinum. It's not even a Lariat. It's platinum for like 12.5, like 73,000 miles on it. I'm like, that's a
Jesus.
fucking $40,000 pickup all day long. You at 12.5 for it? I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe I
see-
should be trading all my
you
shit
see
in.
all the commercials, and they're like, pick up this brand new Ford Fusion, no payments, 6 months. I'm like, Jesus,
6 months.
6
Some of them are like a
months.
fucking year now, dude. We talk
Yeah.
about 6 months.
Crazy.
Like a year.
Crazy.
Oh, and the used shit, the bottoms just dropped out of it. And that goes back to I feel bad. I do. I don't want to see shit closed down. I don't want to see car dealerships closed down or like local businesses and shit. Like we've been doing, and I never ate out that much before. We got a crap ton of kids, right? We don't eat out much. We don't. But I felt compelled the last like month to order takeout from places just so they don't fucking close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just so like the local restaurant down the street doesn't close down and maybe can pay their cook or their dishwasher or whatever. Like I legit feel bad. And I try to do my part to like help out. And like we got our stimulus check or whatever. We did. I saw some meme on Facebook and it was kind of like, oh, just buy a good bunch of gift cards for local
Yeah.
businesses. And we did. We bought like $1,000 in gift cards for like our in-laws and stuff like that, like people who live here in town, friends of ours here in town who are kind of struggling. Be like, here's
Yeah.
$100 to the steakhouse. Here's $50
Yeah.
to
That's
the
a couple meals right
whatever.
there.
Yeah, and it helps people out a little bit. And I don't know. Like I said, we're doing okay. Like I hate taking you know, I did see you're supposed to buy chickens for it, so you get your money for nothing and your chicks for free. But just saying. But I'm just like, you know, we're doing okay. Like we should pay that forward a little bit. And I don't know. I thought maybe that was some good karma on us, and then I fucking turn around and get fired. But whatever. Like,
Hey, you know, when was it? Door closes, window opens. Maybe you
I
get
don't.
something better comes along.
That fucking door opens and I'll jump out that bitch when that green light comes on. What's up? I don't give
There
a
you
shit.
go. There you go. All right. So last story we'll have for you, and we'll call it a night. Is The Last of Us. We talked about it a couple times. PC exclusive. It's been delayed a couple times. We finally have a release date. I think it was in June. Crap, I already forgot. It was like June 19th or something like that. Very soon, right around the corner. The latest is that it is going to be a massive game, easily over 100 gigabytes. If you plan on downloading it digitally, you better clear some space on your PS whatever you're playing it on, because it's easily over 100 gigs. If you're buying it physical disc, it's going to be in a 2 disc set. That's how large that even on Blu-ray, it needs a 2 disc set for this game. It's like every time we make a physical media that's big enough to hold like all the information, like they're just like, well, now we need more. So that it's crazy. But anyway, so yeah, so that just, you know, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you're planning on digitally downloading The Last of Us Part 2, start clearing some disk space, because it's going to be a massive download. Very much in the vein of like a, you know, Red Dead Redemption or the new Modern Warfare is over. It's well over 100 gigs now with all the updates. So yeah, it's just the other day I was trying to I booted it up just to play with some friends, and it's like, oh, you don't have the latest installed. I'm like, I just played like 2 days ago. How is there another 18 gigabyte update? Like, what the hell? Yeah, so they're just constantly releasing more content, which I guess is not a bad thing. I did have a story that I was going to talk about, that we'll push it to next week, but just as a teaser, is that finally Battlefront 2, the Star Wars shooter game, and Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 2, one of them, is going to they're ceasing all kind of like development for it. So they've been releasing like downloadable content and, you know, new updates and all this. EA has cut across the board to say like, we're done supporting those games. Like, servers will still be there, you can play it, you can unlock everything, you can do all that. They're just not going to be adding any more content. That they're completely stopping. The big rumor behind it is there's obviously something major that they're pushing all their kind of development chips into. So there's definitely going to be some big announcement probably soon. I don't know if it's a new Battlefield game or one of their IPs, but they're shutting down shop on all of their older games. So you have to figure they're pushing development to something pretty big. So
Man, question about that though. Do you
Yeah.
think they're doing that, or do you think that? I mean, obviously they are. They have to. It's kind of the way of the world. But how much of that do you think is like they're just like, well, fuck it, we're just sick of supporting this old shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many times they got to update an old game before they're like, well, it's about as good as it's gonna get. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
No, you're true. I mean, because there's so much. It's a game that's been 2-3 years. Like, okay, it's balanced. We got it. It's
Yep.
good. And I do think part of it's like, look, we want to work on something else. We're sick and tired of running this code or running this game or running this whatever. But I do think it's mainly as in my day job, I do a little bit of project management. It's mostly a level of effort thing. You know, we only have so many developers. And with it being, you know, COVID-19 right now, this is a good time for a lot of them to kind of shuffle things around and say, okay, who do we have working where, and what can their efforts be towards? And then lastly, it's going to be based on numbers. I'm sure, matter of factly, the number of users playing that game are steadily declining. It happens.
Right.
Any game.
well, and if you want to see that happen in real life, take a game like Call of Duty World War II
Mhm.
or whatever Call of Duty game, and then like 6 months after the new one's out, go log into that game and look at the servers
Yeah.
and like see how little
Bare.
actual gameplay it has. Like, people don't realize how trendy those games are.
Oh yeah.
And then some people will play. I thought there's some people playing Modern Warfare 2
Oh
on
yeah.
Xbox. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But But for the most part, those it's like when the new one comes out, the old one dies. Not saying that it's a good or bad or indifferent or whatever. Just there's less people, so it requires less development. Why put that much time and effort and money into a game that 25 people play? Probably more than
Yeah.
that, but
Well, and again, it's just their development company that has so many IPs, so many properties that,
Mhm.
like, so there's a game I love, Dead by Daylight. I talked about it many times. It's the only game the company makes. So
Right.
they've been working on it like 5, 6, 7 years and are still steadily developing it because that's the game. That's what built the house. When you have EA games, EA Entertainment games, like their catalog is massive, and so you only have a finite number of developers. You don't want to pay more developers, so it makes sense if like you said, the game's kind of declining, and they know that they're going to be building towards another game that's going to take more of those people away. Might as well just shift off of it, let it kind of die out on its own. It'll stand. That Battlefront, there's nothing outside of like Call of Duty, which is the same thing. It's a shooting game. You kill the enemy, but there's no other like Star Wars space kind of game like that right now.
Right.
So it'll stand on its own legs for, I don't know, maybe another year, 2 years before they shut it down completely.
But even if it does, like how much they like, oh, we rebalance this weapon and this shield is better. Just fucking leave it alone. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Like you're talking about single like I said, I still play World of Tanks. Probably shouldn't, still do. And then like World of Warships, whatever. But for the
It's a
most
good
part,
game.
it is. But it's dumb, and I shouldn't fucking play it. But like I look back, I've been in the fucking game for 6 years, dude. 6 years. It's got
Yeah.
my fucking six. Like I got my little thing. Like, well, we've been playing for 6 years. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I should know better than this. But they're like, well, we gotta rebalance everything. Well, you quit fucking messing with it. Like, eventually, it's good. Just leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Like, just leave it the fuck alone.
I mean, it's you gotta punch in and do something, right? The developers
Right,
like,
these motherfuckers are like, we gotta make this. This one's OP.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Leave it alone. It's not. Just fucking leave it.
yeah,
Like, and it's the same. Like, almost every this rifle's OP, and snipers are OP, or fucking just leave it alone. Don't touch it. If it's that good, then everybody would use it. There's not. Oh, these guys are camping. Good. Fucking throw me an SMG. I'll fucking tear them up. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They're camping in the same spot. I got this, fam. Don't worry about it.
yeah.
Give me a guard
That's
dog.
what
We're
grenades
good.
are for.
Fuck yeah. Give me a noob tube. I don't give a fuck.
RPG, man.
Right?
Mike hates RPGs for the passion every time we're gaming. Fucking RPGs.
No. Tell me to quit fucking camping. I don't give a fuck. I'll noob tube the shit out of 'em. I don't give a fuck.
Good times, man. Good times.
Oh,
But
yeah.
all right, with that, we've reached the end of the show, guys. We're still somehow in double digits of viewers, so God bless you
Well,
guys for hanging out. I don't know. If I didn't have to be there, I don't know if I'd watch.
I would. This thing's amazing.
It was
Best
a
show on
great
this
time.
planet.
No, I absolutely love doing this each and every week. It's so much fun. I get to geek out with all you guys, and you guys always keep it entertaining in the comments. Obviously, we got you guys hanging out there, so thank you guys so much for checking us out. Yeah. So last thing, next week we have just a really funny guy, comedian. He's an Air Force veteran, Quentin Hardy. He's gonna be on the show next week. He is hysterically funny. He's touring the country. He's doing a lot of big things, and we're going to talk about all things comedy and his service. And so definitely hang around there and check us out next week. Mr. Radar, you want to do your sign off?
Yeah, I can. I see you've been listening to CQ and I in Pop Culture Warrior on Tuesdays. And then Wednesday, we have a Donza Day. Day of no scheduled activities, for those who don't know what Donza means. And Thursday night, we've got Sorens time. Got the big Sorens, the Spanky and Ice. Going to be bringing you all things active duty, Army, National Guard and Reserves, all the fun stuff, making fun of some people, whatever. You don't want to end up on Sorens time? Don't be a shitty leader. Anyway, Friday night, day off. Saturday, day off. Sunday night, we got Kicking It with Cause. Team Old coming in here, fucking bringing us all our shit. All their fucking lighthearted shit. It's fun. Love Cause and Al. You guys are amazing. Thanks for doing what you do. Then Monday night, we got the Monday edition with Ice and Flash. going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff. Well, last night was just basically a Star Wars show. Yeah, I love you guys, but it was Star Wars. And then back to Tuesday nights with us. What's up?
That's right. That's right. I hear the music queuing up. So, guys, it's been great. Thank you guys for hanging out. Go check out Travis Miller's book on Indiegogo. Let me know. And yeah, we will see you guys next week. Shots.
Thank you.